Hi, and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Sue, and today we're going to learn how to make this delicious, delicious Greek sesame cookie twist called Koulouria. They're absolutely delicious. They're perfect with coffee, tea, hot chocolate, or milk, or just any time. And you'll enjoy making them. They're very simple. This recipe and other recipes from our show can be found on our website, Tweeton.com. Be sure to look it up. You'll find the recipes, and you'll also find other interesting information and links to other Greek sites. To make Koulouria, you'll need the following ingredients. You'll need some flour, some sugar, butter or margarine, eggs, for flavoring vanilla, of course some baking powder for leavening, and the thing that makes these so delicious is the sesame seeds over here that you'll put on top. The first step in making the Koulouria is to get all the wet ingredients together to cream the butter, sugar, and the eggs together. So I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar to my mixing bowl. Next, I'm going to add 1 3/4 cups of butter. And 1 3/4 cups is 3½ cubes. You can use margarine if you like. Just make sure it's a good quality margarine. All right, so now you see I've got the 3½ cubes of butter. I can start mixing this mixture, or I can add the 4 eggs now, and that's what I'm going to do. 4 large eggs. One thing to do with your butter is make sure it's at room temperature. It's easier for it to cream, for it to mix in the mixer. And I'll add the 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And be sure it's vanilla extract, not vanilla flavoring. It does make a difference. Okay, all our kind of wet ingredients are together, and we're going to incorporate them with the sugar by using an electric mixer. If you have a big heavy-duty one, then it'll work fine. I don't. I have the smaller one, but this will work okay too. Just start off slow. Okay, most of the sugar and butter and eggs have been kind of mixed together. There are several ways you can approach this. One way is to just go ahead and melt the butter and then let it cool, and then it's really easy to add the eggs and the sugar. Another way is to cream the butter and the sugar together until you get a very, very thick, heavy frosting-like consistency, and then add the eggs. I threw everything together just because I was not in the mood to do either one of the others. It really doesn't matter. When you get the flour added and you mix the dough all up, it all comes out really good and it tastes wonderful. Now it's time to get our dry ingredients together. We need 6 cups of all-purpose flour. And I keep my flour in a large 3-pound coffee can I have for years, and I see no reason to change because it's hidden away in a cupboard and no one sees it but me and now you. Okay, 1, I guess the important thing here is to don't lose track of how many cups you're using. That's 3. Make them level cups, as level as possible. And that's our last cup of flour. To the flour, you want to add 4 tablespoons of baking powder. And be sure your baking powder is fresh. If it's been sitting in your cupboard way too long, it will lose its effectiveness, and your baked goods will come out a little flat. So it's 4 tablespoons, 4 level tablespoons of baking powder. Now this recipe will make a lot of Koulouria, but that's okay. But they don't last very long. No matter how many you make, they don't last very long. It's one of those things. You have a couple with your morning breakfast coffee, and then around mid-morning you think, well, I could use another cup of coffee and just a little snack. So then you have another. And then mid-afternoon you tell yourself, well, I'm feeling a little sleepy, a little tired. I need a pick-me-up. So I'll have a cup of tea and another Koulouria. And then, of course, after dinner, they're just perfect for after-dinner coffee. And then you walk into the kitchen, you turn on the light, and you think, hey, I might as well have myself another snack. They don't last very long, even though this recipe makes a whole lot. Just mix the dry ingredients thoroughly. Get that baking powder evenly dispersed throughout the flour. And now we're ready to combine dry and wet. Okay, now we need to combine the wet and the dry ingredients. Just slop all that egg, butter, sugar, vanilla mixture onto the flour. And go to work incorporating it. This will make a very dense, thick dough. And as we incorporate everything, we could come to the point where actually you're going to need to stick your fingers in. But that's okay, because that's fun. You can see this is a very dense, dry kind of dough. And I might need to add just a few droplets of milk. So it's good to have maybe 1/4 of a cup of milk on hand. Don't use it all, but just a few droplets, maybe a tablespoon at a time, if the mixture seems too dry. This is like pie crust in the sense that you're going to have to get in there and use your fingers, use your hands to combine everything. So here goes. And this is fun. Koulouria is definitely a hands-on project. Not only do you have to get your hands in there to mix the dough properly, but then you do all this rolling of the cookie. So be prepared. Get those finger muscles exercised and ready to do some heavy-duty work. It's fun, though, and it's one of those projects that you can do with other family members, your children, and the end results are definitely worthwhile. They are so good. This seems just a little too dry to me, so I'm going to add a few more droplets of milk. It needs to be able to stick together enough for you to roll it out into the ropes and shape it. Now it's getting there. And be sure to pick up all the flour and bits and pieces that are on the bottom of the bowl. Don't leave anything behind. All right, let's look at this dough. I'm just going to take a section just like this, give it a test. It should be able to roll. I'm rolling it between my fingers here, and it should be able to roll nicely without falling apart. And this is going to work out just fine. You can see it's a very, very dense dough. It's soft, but it's very dense. And that's what you need because you're going to be rolling this dough in order to make the cookie twist. So the next thing is just to get my surface ready, get my hands kind of cleaned up, and get the sesame seeds ready for rolling. I've got to go shopping. I've made my list and I need a few things. So I'm going to my local grocery store, Vic's Market on Oak Avenue Parkway in Folsom. Why don't you come with me and we can go over some of the things, the ingredients, grocery items that make Greek cuisine so unique and so different and so special. Well, here we are. Let's go inside Vic's and see what they've got. Here's a good section, tomatoes and garlic. Of course, Greeks use a lot of tomatoes in their cooking and fresh tomatoes for their salads and things like that. And garlic, you can't have a Greek dish without garlic. What you want to look for is a garlic head like this. It's compact, it's white. There are no bruised, brown, or moldy sections showing. This would be a perfect head to buy, and when they're on sale, I'd buy quite a few and keep them in a cool, dry place. They'll last quite a while, and you just can't beat the flavor of fresh garlic in your cooking. No Greek recipe would be complete without onions, and you can buy this kind of onion for everyday cooking. They're wonderful. But the red onion is especially colorful and flavorful for salads, especially Greek potato salad and the famous Greek village salad. Greeks do use a lot of potatoes in their cooking, and for Greek roasted potatoes or the famous chicken, lemon, oregano with roasted potatoes, you want to use russet potatoes. These are wonderful. One thing that's so convenient about modern supermarkets is you can find fresh herbs here. Even if you don't grow the herbs yourself, you can come to the supermarket and buy them fresh. Now look at this. This is fresh mint. You can't do anything in Greek cooking without mint. But sometimes people don't want to grow it in their backyard or in a pot on their deck. Well, you can come to the supermarket and buy it. You can buy it fresh and use it fresh. Also, you can actually take it home and dry it yourself. And you'll come out with dried mint that's a lot more flavorful than anything you could find in the spice section. Now, here is another fresh herb that's used widely in Greek cooking, and that is fresh dill. Has a delicious flavor. This is used in dolmas, many ground meat products, and it's also used in spanakopita. Again, when you use it fresh, it's delicious, and you could even take it home and dry it yourself. Here you have rosemary, thyme, and oregano. Again, major Greek herbs that you can purchase fresh at your grocery store and use them fresh, or, as I said before, you can take them home and dry them yourself, and they'll be a lot more flavorful. Greeks use parsley in a number of ways, in their regular cooking, but especially in salads, and especially in that delicious Greek potato salad. Here's an English cucumber. I really like using these because you don't need to peel them, and they're never ever bitter. They're absolutely delicious, and I think they're better than any other cucumber. Another nice thing about modern supermarkets is you can find a lot of garlic products to use so that you don't have to chop the garlic yourself. Although I think it's worth the extra effort, and fresh garlic does taste best, some of these minced garlic products are just fine for using in sauces, cooked sauces. And you can use any one of these fresh mushroom products. Either these that you clean yourself, or these up here that are already pretty well cleaned and even sliced for you. Makes life very easy, doesn't it? To make a quick Greek salad, you can always resort to bagged lettuce. These products are really quite good and they're quite convenient. However, if you're going to make a true Greek salad, try to get one of the mixes that has a lot more romaine than other lettuces. For Greek salads, you'll need either red wine vinegar or white wine vinegar. That was fun. In fact, I got so inspired, I'm going to go home and make some spanakopita. Now we're ready to roll the cookies, get the whole thing going. First thing you need to do is grease your cookie sheet. It doesn't have to be overly greased, but it should be greased so the cookies don't stick. Get this all done up nicely so that you'll be ready to put the formed cookies directly onto the cookie sheet. Okay, that's set, and I'm going to just set this aside and get started forming. Okay, you've got your dough. You'll need to take a small lump of dough about this size and roll it into a rope, somewhere between 8 to 10 inches long. So just get it on your clean, flat surface and begin rolling. And I'm going to use this first one as a guide for how long the rope should be. All right, this is perfectly 10 inches. And now I don't need this ruler any longer. Continue taking lumps of dough and roll them out to 8 to 10 inches in length. And you don't want them to be too thick. They should be, the final product is they should be about as thick as a female pinky finger. Then this is fun. This is something that you can do together with friends or your children or even your spouse. Just keep rolling it out. All right, and then just kind of eyeball measure it, cut it, and take your thin rope of dough, loop it over, and then twist it over to make a small braid. That's what you're looking for, this nice twist shape. The cookie is shaped. Now you need to dip it in sesame seeds. You'll need about 1 to 1.5 cups of untoasted raw sesame seeds and place them in a flat bottomed bowl or container like this. Just take your cookie and dip one side into the sesame seeds, pressing lightly, then lift it up, shake off the excess, and place the shaped dipped cookie on your greased baking sheet. Keep the cookies at least 1 inch apart. Now I'm going to shape another cookie from the leftover roll. And again, just loop it over and then twist it. If it comes out uneven like this, just cut off the extra part. And then take your cookie, dip it into the sesame seed, press lightly, lift it up, shake off excess sesame seed, and place on your baking sheet. Be sure you keep the cookies at least 1 inch apart, because they do puff up. Almost ready to bake but not quite. Before the koulouria go into the oven, you need to brush them with a glaze mixture. And I'm going to do that right now. Put that whole thing together. This topping makes the cookie nice and glossy and helps it brown. So for the topping, you're going to need the yolk of 1 egg. So just crack your egg and separate out the yolk. And if a little egg white gets in, that's okay. It won't hurt. We're not making a meringue. All right, so here's our egg yolk. And to the egg yolk, you want to add 2 teaspoons of milk. Or cream, that would work just as fine. And again, a little bit more, a little bit less isn't going to hurt. And finally, for the topping, you want to add a half teaspoon of sugar. This helps it brown. And again, the same thing. A little bit more, a little bit less isn't going to hurt. Beat this all together. And there you have it. If you should use this all up while you're brushing the cookies, just do the recipe again. All right, now you want to just dip your pastry brush in the topping and lightly brush the cookies. Don't brush them too hard or all the sesame will come off. And some sesame will come off, and some of the topping will drip onto the baking sheet. That's okay. You just need enough to just kind of glaze the tops of the cookies. Notice what I'm doing. It's more of a dab than a brush, just dabbing on the glaze. And these are all ready now to put in the oven and bake. Put the koulouria in a 350 preheated oven. They should bake for around 20 to 25 minutes. I would check them after 20 minutes to make sure that they're not over browning. You want them a nice golden toasty brown, but you certainly don't want them to burn, and of course you don't want them undercooked either. So here they go. It's been 20 minutes, and I'm going to check the koulouria. These are just perfect. Nice toasty brown with that delicious toasted sesame flavor. The koulouria are just perfect. I'm going to just take them out. They need to cool for a few minutes. This recipe should make around 4 dozen to 4.5 dozen cookies, depending on how thin you roll them and depending on how long or short you cut them. Once they've cooled, you should place them in an airtight container, and they will keep for quite a while. That is, if no one will get to them and eat them. Otherwise, get used to making them often. Aren't these pretty? They're so pretty. The nice braid, the twist, with the glossiness of the egg wash and the toasted sesame. They're absolutely delicious. And they're not overly sweet. That's what makes them so nice and so special. They're a perfect breakfast. A couple of koulouria with a nice piece of fruit and a cup of coffee, you've got a great breakfast, a great afternoon snack, pick-me-up, and a great dessert. They're one of my absolute favorites. Hey, that's my cup of coffee. See you later.